Hello, welcome once again to the program, How to Control Your Emotions. And if you've been watching my past programs, you will know that all the problems of life begin with your reaction to stress, all your traumas, all your suffering, all your bad memories, all the things that are negative in your life are emotion-based. And this evening, we're going to continue a discussion that's been going on for some weeks, and hopefully some time into the future if this program is supported. And I just want to turn to my group here and see if we can't get them involved again, get them all stirred up like we did last week. I just want you to know that I'm opening up the floor for questions, and you can speak about anything you like, but just to set the stage a little bit, I think I want to just mention the danger of intellectualizing what you are learning here, that all of you have been to school and been subject to various pressures there. Church too, I'm afraid, is a culprit. And you've learned as a result of reacting to pressure. And that's opened your mind from the outside so that you are programmed and impressed. But it closes the door to the inner so that you start to evolve as a personality, yes, that too, as well as your memories. Your whole life is externally based and very shallow. So you can understand nothing. You think you understand because you think you understand. You see, because you've lost the understanding, what understanding really is. So I'm asking you this evening to see if you can sort of understand that. Stand back inside yourself, you sort of, in a sense, you look at me for a moment, and I begin to look weird. I mean, I look weird anyway, but just stand back and as if you were looking through your eyes rather than with your eyes. See? Looking with is different. Have you ever driven a car down the highway one night and noticed your hands on the steering wheel? And it looks like you're in a movie. It's like, whose hands are these? You're looking out through the windows of your soul, you know, through your eyes. And there's two of you. And if you could stand back from your thoughts and just look at me for a moment and just see my words coming out of my mouth, and let it go through one ear and come out the other, because there's nothing in the way to stop it, and I mean that. I don't mean that as a joke. There must be no ego, no attempt to try to remember everything I'm saying. Intellectualize it. All I want to do is ring your bells. Ding, you know, something clicks. See, it's called the aha experience. Don't worry if you don't remember everything. And that's the way you're going to discover. Because the personality that evolves from learning is not the same personality that evolves from discovering. And the schools won't let you discover. Because you will not be, you know, you won't be a pawn for the mines and for the factories and for the jobs. They don't want individuals. We talk about individuality in America and the free world, but there are forces in this world that are just going to program you for whatever purposes that it suits them. They're there. They're pulling the strings from behind the scenes, you understand? You can feel it, the loss of values in the school system, just teaching people facts and not teaching virtues and character and things like that. Turning out little animals that you build more jails for, you need more hospitals for, need more drugs for, more operations, more psychiatry, more funds for government. The more problems they have, the better it is. They love to come solving problems. They love to solve problems, but never really get to the cause, and we're going to get to causes tonight. And one of the causes of your problems is you react to stress, you react to the pressure, and you start to learn. And you start to learn who you are and from your environment, and you become addicted to your environment. Because once you start growing from the environment, the other way of growing from the inner environment, from the real person, your center of being, disappears. And you forget who you are. And you think what you're becoming, and you think reacting to stress is normal. That you have to react to function. You have to have challenge. You have to have the pressure. I work better under pressure, people say. Stupid. Kids have to have the music on in order to stimulate their brains so they can learn with the music their lessons. Something sick about that. Am I right, ladies and gentlemen? Now, I'm glad to see. Now, you may have troubles. I'm sure my audience already has picked up on the fact that you can't learn, you can't study. Some of you have not been able to learn. Some of you have not rejected religion completely and gone just the opposite way, you see, and found that's not opposite. It's the same. Because if you're rejecting the knowledge of good, you're accepting the knowledge of evil. And if you're accepting the knowledge of good, that ain't good, because it's the original sin, the knowledge of good and evil, once imbibed to make oneself prideful. See? That is the problem. So you can have a problem being, you know, an apple polisher and a scholar. You can have a tremendous conflict over being successful and having knowledge. And you may feel so conflicted that you'll give up a good career because somehow it's boring, it's deadening. So you couldn't learn because it was deadening. It is deadening. Letter killeth, the spirit giveth life. Here I'm in danger of giving a talk tonight. Let me ask you a question. Did you understand what I was saying? How many people relate to that? Everybody, eh? Nobody, everybody's a victim of it. Now, I am not saying that you shouldn't learn. I'm saying you shouldn't study. You shouldn't absorb. And you have to look at your reaction to your environment, which is the means by which you have been programmed to be a little wind-up toy for the system. And we have to uncondition you to that, because you see, you throw the baby out with the bath water. You should be learning, but you should be learning what you see as, what you realize is good for you. And you should be learning at your own speed. And you should be discovering religion in the same way. See, your ear is not a sausage skin to funnel all kinds of words and verses and chapters and bits and pieces of good knowledge or whatever knowledge it is. It's not going to help you. It's deadening. The letter killeth. The knowledge of good or the knowledge of evil isn't any good if it's under pressure. And the teacher's known that. You think after all these thousands of years of school and more curriculums and more education, you think they had to figure that one out already, wouldn't you? What's wrong with the kids and why even Einstein couldn't stand the pressures. He failed at his mathematics. He needed to go at his own speed. And then he became a genius. Now, each one of you is capable of being a genius. And I brought 5 kids into the world that were damaged by the school system before I realized enough to stop it, see? But the damage is minimal now. And I took them out of school. And I never exposed them to religion except my tutelage, which was gentle and good example. And so they're growing up to be brilliant. But they've been more brilliant had I not sent them to school at all. Not subjected them to those pressures, had I protected them from the insanity of the world that molded them and shaped them and wanted to destroy the real self and displace it with another self that's hungry after everything. See? More knowledge to solve the problems of knowledge. So see that? That's what we got. That's what we have in our world. The more knowledge we have, the more problems we have. The more problems we have, the more it cries out for more knowledge. And you keep ever learning but never coming to the knowledge of truth. The world will be destroyed by knowledge. It will be saved by truth. But you have to give up knowledge. I didn't say you mustn't give up knowing. You have to give up knowledge. Losing yourself in thought. Thinking that if you learn more and study more and get more languages and another degree, all of your world life will be better. It'll be worse. You can't do it. Something tells you it's wrong. Listen to it. See? They're crazy out there. The teachers are nuts. They're all apple polishers. They're all the ones that survived to go on being teachers, inheriting that kingdom and setting you up to fail, to turn you into animals and not people, pawns for the system. They've all given up their principles for a piece of paper. They didn't question authority. I'm saying you have to question authority. Yes, young lady.
What makes some people different? The ones that question and then those that don't. And they're brought up in the same family, and I was like that. And in 9th grade, I dropped out.
I'm like that. I don't know what it is about you. I don't know what it is about me. My teacher said to me, "You're going to learn this piece of French poetry." I said, "Like hell I will." He chased me around the study. I said, you're not going to beat me up either. It was a boarding school, so I couldn't get out, you know. But I will not learn. He said, that's good for your brain. I said, I'll decide what's good for my brain. It isn't to learn that junk and to fill your mind with French poofy poetry. You know, pardon the vernacular. I'm usually strong on words occasionally. That's what it is.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
I had an experience where I was being raped by a man when I was 19.
Yeah.
And I didn't hate him. I didn't know him from Adam, but I didn't hate him. And I remember thinking, if I could just remember, Cosmopolitan had an article about what you should do if you were going to be raped.
Yeah, take a 45. That's what you need to do if you know ahead of time.
But I didn't read it.
Yeah.
And I thought, and something happened. I was removed from the situation.
Yes.
I was watching it, and you know what? All of a sudden, I knew exactly what to do without even, and I escaped without being violated.
Yes, absolutely.
And unscratched.
Do you see? You see, it's excitement and your weakness, your reaction to the stress of environment that signals to the rapist where they rape your mind with education. See?
But I didn't have any.
I know, but it's your lack of true determination, lack of true grit, this quality we were speaking about just now, that signals to the oppressor whether you are his legal prey. You know, forgive me for saying this, but the underworld has a set of laws and rules. They do have a set of rules, and they can't have you. For instance, the mafia are, in a sense, that kind of noble group. They have their rules and regulations, and they hold fast to it. They take care of one another. I mean, they're not treacherous with one another, and you know, if you betray them, you're dead. That's the justice. But as long as you're in the group, then you owe your life to that group, and you're part of it. You're a brother, and a soldier. And it's not like the government, you know, they're full of treacherous bureaucrats. It's more honest, at least, I think. Not that either one of them are right. But if you don't do business with them, then they recognize that, and you don't owe them anything. The minute you start to do business, the minute you cross that threshold, they own you. You understand that? Well, that's the same with the world of the spirit world of good and the spirit world of evil. It's the same thing. You don't dare cross that threshold. But those people, those rapists, and those spiritual murderers that murder the minds of our children, they know who is their legal prey. They can't touch us. When you're young and you grow up, you find everybody else conforming, but somehow they can't hack it. But you see, we don't know we're different, but we are different. And it's that difference that keeps us from going crazy and being like the rest of the world. Everybody else looks alike. They look like they're, you know, good morning, good night, good evening, and how you doing, and usual. You can engage in small talk, and surface-wise, people seem, I didn't know when I was young that people were different from me. I thought they were the same, but I couldn't understand how they treated me the way they did, see? So it's taken me a long, long time to understand that I'm not the same as everyone else, and nor are you. That you're very, very different, and you are still within the sight of values that you were born with, that you can grow from. And I don't want you to doubt that. But the spirit of the serpent is still in the world, wanting to possess you and live through you and exist through you. See? And making you doubt those values. But if you don't doubt those values, then you will grow. Each experience, like you experienced it, will make you a better human being. And they'll look at you as though they've seen a ghost. They have the Holy Ghost. See?
You want to blend in, but you can't.
Do you know, again in principle, that men can't approach a lady. He can't get fresh with a lady. There's something about a real lady that is coming from the right place that's scary to that kind of man. Only the whore type woman, one of easy virtue, that one is exciting to the man, and it excites him towards her and her to take advantage of his advantage taking. But the real lady would never have a problem with rape. See, never have problems with men. She drives this by her dignity and by the wall she puts around her, the virtue. She keeps all but the right suitors from entering. Is that making sense to you? That's why I encourage you to be ladies and gentlemen, and that there are rewards for this sort of thing beyond your wildest dreams. And you don't listen to the safe sex experts. See, those noodles in charge. See, because they're going to destroy this nation. They don't care for you. See, they have another master they're not even aware of, that's operating through them. So, but your mind can be raped the same way, but you'll escape the rapist of your mind, of your body, if you just do what you say you do, because that's when you're in your center, that's when your dignity shines. I'm sitting here talking to you with that quality. Do you see it? It's like a light. I can talk to you so directly, I can talk from my soul to your soul. I don't play with words. I don't run around in the mulberry bush to get to a point. It's straight from my heart to yours. I know exactly what I'm talking about, and it's full of confidence.
You're not afraid to die. It's like you're not afraid. I wasn't afraid to die. I said to myself when it was
There
happening,
you go.
I said, either he's going to die or I'm going to die. And that's exactly what happened. And as soon as I thought that,
As soon as you lose your fear of death,
I was free.
you're free.
It was.
So as soon as you lose your compulsion to possess possessions, you possess possessions. See? The more you want, the less you can have. See? There are rules. And they'll come to you. I shall open up the windows of heaven, and you shall not room enough to receive it. See?
I'm in great conflict right now.
What for?
Well, all these experiences that happened to me early on, almost 30 now. And I had cancer, and I was cured, and I wasn't afraid of dying then, and I got saved.
It's your overreaction to the condition that makes the condition.
Yes.
If you get an ulcer, it's because you've reacted in a way that gives you that ulcer. You've reacted badly. The problem of the outside gets inside and manifests itself as an illness, let's say ulcers. Now you start to resent the problem on the inside like you do on the outside in order to deal with it. That's how you've always dealt with it. Now your ulcer gets worse. You're giving it power. See? And all you have to do is stand back and come into your center again and see that of yourself you can do nothing. See? That your ego is trying to struggle to cure itself rather than and distracting itself from what really went wrong, from seeing the mistake of hating your boss or your mother or your father, see? And repenting of that, but egos never want to repent. Egos will always struggle with its own problem.
Well, I hate to monopolize everybody's time.
Plus, nobody else is talking, so be my guest. They're all dummies here this evening.
While I was driving here, I was very nervous, and I'm doing the meditation, every day.
Is that when you got the cure of the cancer because of the med?
No, this happened when I was 18.
Oh.
There was a series of things that happened in my late teens.
Because that would have happened in the meditation. If you would have found me on radio or television and learned to meditate, what you have described as the curative process, the standing back, the looking at yourself and not being part of the emotions, and not giving up the struggle and the anger towards yourself. Obviously, you've given up anger towards other people too, haven't you?
I have. Yes,
there has
I
to
have.
be. Well, that's all part of your curative process.
Well, you know what? Can you start to unfold before you meditate? Because I thought I was unfolding before I was.
Of course, the unfolding. Roy Masters. You never have to meet Roy Masters. All Roy Masters does is they accelerate the process of your unfoldment. I think that I'm put on this earth for a very special reason. Time is very short. You probably would have discovered it yourself. I didn't have anybody to teach me. You don't need anyone to teach you. All I'm doing is confirming what you already know.
Because my father couldn't tell me.
Your father couldn't tell you, so you're searching, and you are growing already before you ever met me. Otherwise, you couldn't have recognized where I was coming from, because you were coming from and going to the same place without you realizing it. The rest of the world, to hell with them. You know what I mean? Who cares? I'm only interested, like I've always said, I only want to work with easy people. The hard ones, let the psychiatrist have them.
Well,
I mean, it's not going to do them any good, but they need something.
I'm having a big conflict because I work in the gaming industry.
Uh-oh.
I know.
Shame, shame, shame.
I only got involved in it because I had the supportive son that I had.
Yeah, well, get out of it as soon as you can.
I'm trying. You know what it is? There's no way I can get out of it.
Save your money and run.
Or what if I just give everything up that I have, you know?
Well, let's not go into that now because we're getting into. We are now monopolizing your. We are now bringing your whole life into this.
Yes. Okay.
Anybody else want to comment? Yes, sir.
I have problems relating to women.
You do you? Well, welcome to the club. Is there any man here that doesn't have problems with it? I'll show you a chicken with teeth if you got one.
No, but the thing that I focused on,
That's your problem, is the thing you focus on. No wonder you got problems with women.
when I was 4 years old, I hit the corner of a chest. They have clothes in, you know,
Yes.
in the groin area, and my penis never got very big. And
I don't think that cured. I don't think that was the cause.
that's what I focused on.
I know. I think you blamed your lack of development, which I think is in the mental
That's what-
departments
yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
You see, it's something. I don't think that's the cause. I think, you see, you make the mistake like a lot of people do. And this is what the ego does. It grows up a little short of what it should be. In other words, we're as guilty as hell. I don't mean that. I mean, you're just a little ahead of me. I meant, you mean, we're short on character. I mean, that was an honest mistake. Anyway, we grow up. We grow up a little bit wrong, guilty. And the guilt will never allow us, the spirit of guilt, which is pridefulness, which is a war with reality. That's why you make excuses. It puts up a shield, and it will not let you face what it will not allow itself or you to come to that reality. It always makes you doubt and gives you excuses. And here's something talking to you, giving you excuses all the time. But anyway, it will always. Its thinking is your thinking. You have no original thought in your head except that you realize you haven't got an original thought in your head. And so therefore, when you're guilty, it's like you thinking. It will come up with a reason for why you are sick or have troubles that isn't the reason at all. And then it will help you worry an answer and get you more deeply involved in producing problems, because worry is a reverse faith. I always say, you want faith? Don't worry. Don't worry. But you see, if you give up, people say, what faith? What's faith? What is under? Well, just, if you want the faith, give up worry. Resist the temptation to wallow in that doubt, which is a reverse faith. A reverse faith for the reverse person. It's like a faith. You know, if I make you doubt yourself, if I have truth, see, and then you talk me out of it, make me doubt myself, I believe in you. Well, you're the doubt person. Now I'm made out of that. It's like faith. I have to doubt in order to exist. A little bit of your spirit is in me needing to doubt. It's kind of faith. See? That helps you to avoid the truth of what you've become through doubt. You're a different person, but it will always give you a reason that isn't the reason at all and confuse you. And you get worse. That is not the reason. I'm sure that isn't the reason why you...
I couldn't my mother, too, I couldn't...
Your problem was your reaction to your mother.
I couldn't show her the way I felt.
No, you could, because your mother was what? A manipulating, dehumanizing, emasculating witch. And your father was a wimp.
He was alcoholic.
Yeah, well, he couldn't handle your father, couldn't handle your mother.
But she wasn't overbearing like you know.
But she took your masculinity away, and it wasn't the corner chest. Okay? And now you're going to have, now that's, can we be finished with that now?
Yeah.
And now we can look for the real reason. And of course you've been listening to my programs for quite some time, haven't you?
3 weeks. About
3 weeks. All right, well, you need to get some of my books.
I dropped by today and got your...
You need to get
tapes
acquainted.
And the,
Okay.
and the book. and then
So you're just beginning,
Yeah.
so I have to leave you out so much of the discussion this evening, although it's nice of you to bring that idea up because it gave me an opportunity to express the thought that I haven't done for a long time. But you have to become objective, and you have to find that position, that condition of mind this young lady is in. You must separate you from you, or the you from the not you, because otherwise one cannot oppose the other. You can't be involved in the swamp and help yourself, or help anybody else. Somehow you're going to have to be saved from the swamp of your thoughts, and then some way, by separating from the mire of your thinking, there is, just by understanding and being connected to the source of understanding, is the power over the thought process and over the emotion process. It's like waking up from a dream and having a nightmare. The only way to wake up from the nightmare, the only way to solve the problems of a nightmare is to wake up. Then the nightmare goes away. There's something about being aware and awake that tells you that's just a dream, it's not real, so don't get upset, don't get excited. It stops feeding the problem. See? And that's what we have to do here, and this is what I hope I've done this evening. And tomorrow we're going to continue on with the same nincompoops that I hear this. Okay? I say that endearingly because we are all nincompoops in this world. We're all seeking the truth. See you tomorrow night.
The foundation of human understanding teaches an observation exercise, often called meditation, which permits you to become objective toward your problems and allows your heartaches, bad habits, fears, and anxieties to be completely eliminated from your life without effort on your part. Until you have begun to practice this exercise, much of what you see and hear on the following program may be shocking and upsetting to you. But if you will listen calmly and with an open mind, you may discover the key to the peace of mind and joy for which you've been searching all of your life. And now, from the foundation of human understanding, here is Roy Masters.
Welcome once again to the program, How to Control Your Emotions, and we are involved in a heavy discussion. And in our last episode, we had a gentleman in the audience who's still here, who thought that the problem, his sexual problem, was caused by hitting himself in the groin on the corner of a chest of drawers. And I said, nothing could be further the truth. What I was saying was, and still am saying, and I think he understands it, that his ego, like everyone's ego, rather than admit the real reason, races intellectually through a process called worry, and always comes up with the wrong answer. Because the ego is the pride of life. It's the wrong spirit. It's the spirit of the earth. It's the same spirit as, you might say, the spirit of the Garden of Eden, the spirit of the serpent. It's in there, and it's the pride of life. And once it's in there, it can only survive if you don't face the truth. So it naturally doesn't want you to pinpoint the cause of the problem, because it will die. And some of you may really become very disturbed this evening hearing this. The last time we had, it was last week, a lady had an exorcism, if you remember that, because all of a sudden she became aware of this other self through my discussions and her responses to her awakening. And she began to see this self, and she had a little exorcism for about 3 or 4 minutes. It was gone, and she's fine. And everyone has a self in them that isn't them. You've heard the expression, I'm not myself lately. You know. I don't know what got into me. I don't know what came over me. I've got you under my skin. See? Well, if you're not yourself, who the hell are you? You know, I mean, no, we don't understand those little colloquialisms. We don't. It's all subconsciously expressed. And, yes, young lady.
Roy, I'm aware of an identity that I have in me that's not me.
Yes.
And sometimes I feel like it holds me prisoner. I
It
almost
does.
feel paralyzed.
It does.
And I usually get this feeling in the presence of authority or
Exactly.
There's me in there that has things to say, and
But authority won't let you.
but, but I can't get out. I mean,
No.
I'm stuck.
I know, because, you know, you've expressed it very well, because it came from the wrong authority. Who is the right authority? I mean, when Christ was here, didn't he go up against all the authorities? He says, listen to what they're saying, but don't be like them. He says, you know all the secrets of the kingdom, but you won't enter into yourself, and you stop everybody else from coming through the door. In not so many words. He said that. He says, you don't go into yourself, and you hinder everyone else that's at the door. The authority of this world is a power-hungry madman. And I don't care, everyone who wants power is an egomaniac. And of course, the people who get into government are the people who want power, so all the wrong people are in power. See, teachers, they want to be teachers, they want to be somebody. And they end up confusing the hell out of all the kids. They're not interested in teaching, they're interested in confusing and confounding and showing themselves in a good light with the kids. Or degrading, knocking them other kids down, and you'll never be anything, you'll be a garbage collector if you don't learn, pressuring the kids out of all the common sense that they're born with, delivering those little souls to their master. You know what I'm saying? Something's wrong with authority. And not that authority is a bad thing, because if we had a good authority, if we had good parents, and if we had good teachers, if we had good government, and with Mr. Reagan, I know that everybody is against him, a lot of people are, but I think he's the greatest, because he's a common sense man, and this common sense is a war with all the intellectuals, all the little serpent people. See? And there's a war between common sense, the spirit of common sense, and the spirit of the spirit of not so common sense, the spirit of the intellect. I've been heard to say quite often. The spirit of the intellect are all those people who have given up their own common sense, and they've developed a spirit of pride, and Satan is their master. I'm sorry to say, and they look like they're normal people, they look like they're knowledgeable, and they are the authorities of the world, but there's something wrong operating through them that has a very negative effect on people like you and me.
And then you doubt, you feel like you want to be with them.
That's right. You try to, have you ever tried to deal with bureaucrats? They love that power, they like to confuse you, they make things difficult for you. And, mountains of paperwork that doesn't mean anything. The whole purpose is confusion, so that you don't understand, so therefore you defer your own common sense. You defer what would otherwise be common sense to their rules and regulations. And once you start to react to that, you start to become the extension of it. And in other words, it's like you're God, and you can't speak up to God. That's why you can't oppose God, because there's something that the brainchild, the alien, if you like, that's of them, that's crept into you by being violated, by being around those kinds of people. Ever since the day you were born, it's called the earthling or the changeling. That's that other self that I was referring to a little while ago. It grows up, and what violates you, what has been in charge of your development, your education, your religious training, your upbringing, by pressuring you and causing you to react so that you can't grow from who you were when you were born and the design you were meant to manifest, the inner authority. Do you follow that? Yeah. Even the cameraman's digging it. He just saw something, you see? See, no, now what you are is the extension of that spirit. So in other words, if you speak up to that authority, it's like talking to God, and if they give you disapproval, you vaporize.
That's right.
You cease to exist.
I've had to literally say, right before I go into my mother's house, that, wait a minute, she can't whoop me. In order to help disarm myself.
But you can. But you can. See, because that's what, in religious parlance, you need salvation. You need to transfer. You've got to die to the world, and you've got to be born again from a new authority. And this old authority tries to make you doubt what you know. Now, where is where is this magic? Where is this magic of transference? Are you going to go along transferring yourself from one authority to another? First of all, it's your mother, then it's your wife, then it's your doctor, then it's your psychiatrist, then your prison warden, I don't know what I mean, then the undertaker. And then the guy with the horns. He's been behind all that all along, you see. It's no joke. See, what's the magic of transference? How do we do this? Well, let me tell you what it is, and I keep coming back to the point again. It's because you've been made to doubt yourself. The Garden of Eden story is precisely the root of the human condition, of our suffering. You doubt what you know is right. When you doubt, we had a whole lecture on doubt not long ago, maybe you saw it on TV. It's good to bring a little bit forward again. You doubt what you know is right. Doubt what you're born to know without words. See? So now the words come in and take their place. That's the spirit of knowledge. And of course the violation, the schism, there's a separation, a big separation. It's called a schism, schizophrenia, separation that takes place, so that once you fall and start to doubt what you know, it's a psychic jujitsu, a psychic karate. You fall and you hang on to that person because the only way you can be is from that person. And then you find the relief in doubting what you know. That's why we have drugs. We study harder, thinking we can be more by studying. Study is a drug. You can be a workaholic, a knowledge-aholic. See, the spirit of that world, the spirit of doubt is behind even music. Do you know what I heard one time when Jimmy Carter was visiting the East Coast, and he was visiting some of the very poor people who lived in some of those islands off the coast of Carolinas. And I heard it very clearly, and it's what startled me. And they live in these little poor shacks, and they play this dumb music. I got to say it, it's dumb music. You know, and they jump around, and they, you know, hop and skip and a jump, and all their juices are flowing for a second. It seems so silly because they're old and they can't jump very much, and it looks pathetic. And so one man says, but see, all we have is our music, and music gives us hope. How on earth can music give you hope? Because it distracts from hopelessness. It makes you doubt. It takes you away from realizing your hopelessness. See, and allows us to continue pridefully. That's drugs, that's music, that's Valium, it's education, anything. We set a bigger goal. All it is, I have to give you a good example of this. I was sitting in a restaurant, a Japanese restaurant. It's the first time I ever went to one. And they had 15 different dishes, and every dish had a little tiny bit of food in it. And they kept dish after dish, and I'm hungry. I said, what's the matter? This is going into my hollow tooth. It doesn't get to my stomach. What's the idea, Brink? Why can't you put it all on one dish and be honest about it? And the waiter said, looking forward to something is better than having it. You have hope. Look forward. It pulls you. See, if you don't have something that distracts you, you have hopelessness. What pulls you away from realization is this false hope. See. And it's as simple as that. Just have to see that it's a false faith that we have in ourselves. And there's a wrong spirit behind that. It's a false faith. For instance, if you make me doubt myself, okay, we're talking about this doubt. You make me doubt myself. I know what's right. I'm a little kid. Everybody gangs up on me because I'm a troublemaker in school. You know, that's the way it is. Teacher says so. The kids have all conformed. And here I am, being made to doubt myself. Well, when I'm made to doubt myself, what happens? I transfer my faith to the person that makes me doubt myself. I have a reverse faith. Doubt is a reverse faith. And something comes into us that depends upon doubting. Because it must have, you start to believe in authority. You start to look for reassurance. The reassurance is that you're okay. Somehow we sense that doubting ourselves is the cause of our problem, so we never want to doubt ourselves again. Who understands that? But the trouble is, we seek reinforcement. We should be doubting ourselves. Because unless you doubt a second time, in other words, once you become wrong, you want to doubt that you are wrong. But there's a strange, who's following me? Deep down in our psyche, that we've never remembered, perhaps forgotten, never remembered, whatever. Deep down inside, we know that our problem's root, the root of it is doubting ourselves. But when we doubt ourselves, we become wrong. Now a new spirit crops up in there, and now we feel anxiety. We know that something's wrong. That's fine, something is wrong. But now we don't want to ever doubt again, we don't want to doubt again. So now we duplicate that. Now we learn our lesson in the wrong way. We try to believe in ourselves. We try not to doubt ourselves anymore. In other words, we're going to believe in ourselves this time, but we believe in the wrong self. And all the wrong people rush in to help you. Positive thinking, anyone? Friends. Now you want to know why saying no to drugs won't work? Because drugs help us not to doubt ourselves, to believe in ourselves. It's the forbidden fruit. All of these forces of the supportive forces, see, of the fallen condition rise to the occasion through that forbidden fruit. Yes, sir.
How do you get to your right self that you can believe?
Am I making sense to you in all this?
Yeah, but I don't know how do you get back to your right self?
Well, it's very simple. Very simple. Who understood what I just said?
I think you said doubt the doubt.
You know, you have to doubt the doubt. In other words, you have to stop believing in yourself. You have to stop looking for approval. You have to see that this searching for knowledge in books, this need to take drugs, this need to lose yourself in music, this need for friendship is really fiendship. Because behind all that, you see, is a need to believe in oneself and never doubt. But you have to doubt that you're right. See, everyone likes to be right. We don't want to be wrong. If I go on the radio and television and say, well, Roy Masters, you know, is sinless, everybody starts laughing. Roy Masters is without sin. Everybody starts making fun at me. But if you just look at the average world, nobody likes to admit they're wrong. Do they? Well, that in a sense, that is sinless. You see, same thing. Make excuses. We confuse other people. If you're a mother, you never want to be wrong. Have you ever tried to argue with a woman when she's got the power and the ego? The kids are in for a big, you know, roller coaster. She'll make them doubt themselves and confuse the hell out of her husband. The husband tries to be reasonable, and what's in her is threatened by that reason. It doesn't want to be controlled. It doesn't want to be submitted to higher authority. It wants to be over everything, beneath nothing. It always wants to be right, never wrong. You try to confront anybody when they're wrong. You know, you have a funny feeling around their face. It's called embarrassment, shame. Some of the people are so good, instantly, all these excuses go up. They try to confuse you, confound you, make you really think you're wrong for thinking they're wrong. Right now, the homosexuals are on a campaign. You're a homophobic. There's something wrong with you for seeing something wrong with them. Well, this is dangerous because they're making you doubt yourself, and that campaign is making children doubt themselves. Morning, noon, and night, bombarding television, radio, newspapers. You see, the kids come into the world, and they see all this, and it made to doubt themselves, and immediately they become perverted. See? And there's a whole new support system. It is that subtle. So if Mrs. Reagan can think that you can have a campaign to children to say no to drugs, she's very, very naive. I know she means well. I know she's a nice lady. But you need to look to people like me to set the record straight. See? This may be too heavy for young kids, but I don't think so. I think that I could talk to a school and tell them where the problem really lies in no uncertain terms. And the kids will understand. You know why? Because they're closer to heaven when they're young than when they're old. And they know more the day they're born than the day they die. And they do know more than their elders. For a little child shall lead them. That's exactly what Christ said. Isn't that right? They know more. You knew more when you were young, didn't you?
Sure did.
I did. I knew more than my teachers. Because the potential of every human being is, all he needs to do is to unfold. And there's everything he needs within himself. But that is what is an offense, a threat to the system of power and egotism in this world. Now, what were you going to say?
I had my children this last weekend over Mother's Day, and when I took them home, before I had taken them home, I kind of lost my temper with them, and I snapped at them. And on the way home, I apologized to them.
Okay.
I told them, I says, Mommy just had a long weekend, and she's tired, and she didn't feel good.
That's an excuse.
That's right. And
You should have said I was wrong.
Yeah, and I told them, I said, all this, I said, wasn't right. And I said, what I did was wrong, and I said, I'm sorry.
You did say that?
Yeah, and I told them, I says, you know, I says, whenever that happens, because they've corrected me before.
Good.
And I have told them, they know about you, and they know I listen to you. They've seen you on TV, and they've listened to you on tapes.
How old are they?
12, 11, and 8.
And they understand me?
Oh, yes.
You bet your bippies they do.
They do. And they told me, I told them, I says, you know, I says, when Mommy gets like this, I said, just say, Mommy, if you talk to me nicer, then I'll listen.
No, you should tell them, so listen, Mommy, you're being impatient, and there's wickedness coming through.
That's right. They've told me that, too.
And it's sticking in me. You know about impatience? Impatience isn't just an emotion, you know, that you take an aspirin for. You know, everybody's impatient, and that seems like a normal thing. Why not? You know, you get frustrated and impatient. Impatience is evil. It's a projection. And this leads me to discussing the two types of hatred. One is caused by impatience and the reaction to impatience. Understand that? Impatience is injustice. It's with something, you know, you're fidgety. When in your fallen state, you know what I mean by your mother was impatient with you, and you reacted to her, and then you gave your life to her. She bit you like a vampire. And she took your strength, and she gave you identity, and you couldn't say no to her in anything. And you grew up to be just like her, because without any life of your own. And now, how do you live as a replica of your mother? By being patient with your own children. And what does that do? It kills them. They react. You're setting them up to respond, to obey, to be obedient to the world around. You can't serve two masters. You can't respond to an angry mother with a spirit of pride in her who is determined to make you respond to her as God. See? To look up to her and respect her and have all that is due to God to you. So, you can't serve two masters. Either you respond to one, you love one and you hate the other. So that's why women do that with their children. What they do, they need the power. Because in a fallen state, they are very much like a vampire and a zombie. Your mother was the vampire, and when you grew up, you were a little zombie. She took all your life out of you and put her nature in you, and you grew up with her in you, and now you're her, but you have no life of your own. And you have to project. You have to create more little zombies for the kingdom. So you bite, and you backbite, and you get upset, and you make the kids react, and pretty soon, boom, they start to react, and a little bit of you gets in them, and they have to give up their energy. They have to give up their innocence. Is that right? And they start to become formed in your image. Yes, young lady.
You always say, I've heard you say on the radio, it always comes from your mother, never your father.
No, it can't be your father. Your father's a nothing.
I have my father's identity in me.
No, it's your mother's. There's no way on earth it can be your father, because father's nothing.
Was a violent person.
Yes,
and
but
he was a tyrant.
yes,
I
but
have that in me.
No, it's your
his
mother.
wife, who was not my mother, but that doesn't matter, was a wimp,
Yes.
and I can't.
The roles were reversed.
Yes, exactly.
But it's a woman in there.
Well,
Listen, let me say it this way. Let me put it this way. With all due respect, ladies, you've had mothers, and you're women, and women know women better than men do, right? Except I have a little insight on you. What's good? Women know women pretty well, don't they?
Yeah.
I mean, there's no secrets between women, are there? What women know, men don't know, right? I'm telling you this, and you can take it for whatever you want, that if you take the Adam and Eve story and duplicate it in life, you see that men are weak for women and supportive of their ego. You see that there's no God. There's no God in that life. There's no God in a drug addict, drug pusher relationship. The God of the pusher, the God of the pushover is the pusher. His whole life revolves around the fix. Now, the same with when you violated in the Garden of Eden, it had to start somewhere, and it comes down to us. You see it's still alive. Women are offering that forbidden support for egos. And you know, it's part of psychology to stroke men's egos and support them as if this was normal. It isn't. It's the way men die to women, and women die to men. But it's also a reason why reverse roles and reverse power takes place. The woman becomes the strong one. The man becomes the wimp or the weak one, or he becomes violent. But I must tell you this, that whenever you have a violent man, see, it is really a violent woman.
I can see that.
See,
I
it's
can see his mother in him.
You got it. No, so therefore, it's a woman, it's the woman in him that's done that to you. The man is non-existent. He is nobody. See? There's the woman and the woman-dependent man. Cause and effect. Effect looking for the reinforcement of its cause. It's called love. You can create false loves. I can make you love anything. I can make you love him. And he's not very lovable. Yeah, I can make you love the back end of a bus. I can make you love to drink blood.
I had such a love
By corrupting you with that object. See what I mean?
I had such a love-hate relationship with him that I was miles away when he was dying, and I knew he was going to die.
Sure.
I picked it up. I knew he was, and I hadn't talked to him or heard from him in years.
And you also...
But it was.
Were you relieved when you died, or were you relieved when he died?
I didn't feel anything.
Yeah, well, you're not so bad off then. I just see that we're... Yes, young lady, just real quick.
Question along the same line, what she was talking about. One night I came in here, I listened to one of your lectures, and I came up to you afterwards and shook your hand.
Yes.
And the comment you made to me was, there's a man in there.
Did I?
Yes, you did. And you know, you made me think all the way home. I thought about this comment. And you know, I've always been very, very aggressive.
Yes.
And...
Dominant.
Yes. Yes. And
And
I used
powerful.
to have a lot of hatred and resentment towards my father because the way my father treated me.
Well, let's say that for our next program. I'll show you how a man gets into a woman. I'll show you that in our next discussion group. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to bring my attention back to the audience because we've got them involved with this pretty much. So if you want to hear more in the next episode, it's better than the soaps. Except I don't get paid for this. You have to support the program. If you don't, it's Coitons. And it's the end of it. I mean, this is very expensive television, and you know, so I have to get it from someone. I'm not the government. I can't print money. Thank you very much.
The foundation of human understanding teaches an observation exercise, often called meditation, which permits you to become objective toward your problems and allows your heartaches, bad habits, fears, and anxieties to be completely eliminated from your life without effort on your part. Until you have begun to practice this exercise, much of what you see and hear on the following program may be shocking and upsetting to you. But if you will listen calmly and with an open mind, you may discover the key to the peace of mind and joy for which you've been searching all of your life. And now, from the foundation of human understanding, here is Roy Masters.
Welcome once again to the program, How to Control Your Negative Emotions. Actually, it should be How to Control All Your Emotions, because truthfully, you shouldn't have any emotions. Oh, I know, that makes the egomaniac scream in pain. Because the root of egotism and the root of pride and the pride sustenance is rooted in emotion. You know, in the Starship Enterprise, the Captain Kirk and his compadres thought themselves to be very fortunate that they had emotions, unlike Spock, who was a Vulcan. But he had just intelligence, and he couldn't feel like they did, because he was really, technically speaking, the way all human beings should be. It's feeling that gets us into trouble. The feelings of love is not love. The feeling of hate is hate. And as a matter of fact, hate separates you from whatever love is, which is internal, and makes you addicted to taking away the pain of hate and filling the emptiness of hate separation from reality with external pleasures. So the more you hate, the more you love. You know what it's like when you kiss and make up. You fight and you kiss and make up. I won't use the real words, but you fight and you make up. See? And that's what it does. And you call it, and you sink lower and lower, and you love your emotions. You love to hate, and you love to love. And the making love is really is leading to war. And making war leads back to making love. And between the two, you become dehumanized. Now, there is a divine emotion. There is an emotion of the soul somewhere, but it's not. Emotion arises as we fall. For instance, you're having a nightmare. I was discussing that the other night. And you feel emotion because you're not above emotion. You're refueled. You have a different energy, a different insight, a different belief system if you're not involved in your nightmare. And it's true that all of us are involved in a dream. And we all want to be something we can never be. And we all want to escape some things we become, trying to be that. We try to be gods, but we end up dogs. And the fact that we are a dog, a failure, we realize that. And if we're not involved in a dream, we will wake up. If we don't involve ourselves more deeply in fantasy, fueled by emotions. So the emotion fuels the fantasy, and the fantasy fuels the emotion. You know, in the nightmare, you're emotional, very emotional, and the emotion fuels the dream. And the dream makes the emotion. And somewhere, there's no answers. All you have to do is wake up. But the trouble is, do we want to wake up? Is the pride constituted? Is it resolved? Does it want to go on living its own existence? The only way it can live its own existence as God, apart from God, is in fantasy, fueled by emotion, love, hate. If people love you, you love them. They pump your ego up and you come down to accept that illusion of yourself. It's great relief. It reinforces the pride. It helps you doubt what you know isn't so. You know what I mean? Otherwise, you'd otherwise know. We're always in the process of doubting ourselves, even when people love us. What does that love do for us? We involve ourselves in the lie and the feeling that comes from it. And it's really seeking people's love is really denying the truth of God and His saving love. See, we would feel without emotion, our illusions would begin to fall away, and we'd start to feel pain. We'd start to feel antsy. We start to feel insecure, guilty. How do we deal with that? We'd look for false innocence. We're always in the process of denying the truth, doubting the truth and believing in ourselves. We don't like to see that we're wrong, and then we involve ourselves with people who lie to us. And we give them the power, the means to lie to us. The drug addict gives the pusher the money to give him the fix. You give the musicians the music. Pay them to play music for you, and you get caught up with that. And that all renews the sense of faith that one has in the self, but a self gone wrong. Into this miserable, wretched earth